Rockin' Royal, rockin' Navy, know y'all with me, let's get it, baby, Rockin' Royal, rockin' Navy,
Oh man,
let's get it, baby.
long story. So it's
Man,
what I'm learning in recruiting is that everything adds up, everything matters. There's no real singular event. I think everything has an impact. So this one started when I was still in the NBA. I took a flight to come back or to come to Provo from Minnesota when we were playing the T Wolves. In between one of the games, I flew back, and AJ's parents were touring the campus, and that's kind of where we first met. And sort of the groundwork was laid, and then just many months of back and forth, building relationships. Seeing AJ play quite a bit. Really didn't get a chance to dig in with him till they narrowed their list down. Mainly was talking with his dad, Ace, who's a great guy, and once we were kind of in that initial list they cut down, was able to really start talking with AJ quite a bit, and he's just he's a real fun young man to talk to, especially for as touted as he is. I mean, he's got a great head on his shoulders. Yeah, he's very intelligent, just mature beyond his years. I don't feel like I'm talking to a young, a young high school player. So, um, yeah, man, just a lot of positivity. The staff did a tremendous job as well. It was interesting as we went through it. We had a lot of commonalities with their family. Just my staff has a pretty diverse background, and so we were able to find a lot of common ground with them, with mom and dad, and even his sisters and AJ as well. And so um, it was really just kind of an all hands on deck approach, and just couldn't be happier that he decided to officially join us.
How does this change the outlook of maybe the expectations and just the view of BYU basketball you feel getting a guy like AJ?
I mean, I don't think I've gone from any kind of expectations since I've gotten here. We want to be great. We want to get great players. We want to compete for championships, and that's why you coach. That's why you compete. And so I don't think this, for me, I don't go to bed thinking, oh, okay, well, we got to do this, that, and the other. I mean, I wanted to do that regardless. And we're just trying to put ourselves in position to compete with the best programs in the country, on the recruiting trail, as well as in the actual games and in the tournament.
All right, Jay, we'll go to you and then Matt.
Yeah, Kevin, from what I understand, this commitment was made a couple weeks ago, and he actually signed during the signing period. What do you recall? What was kind of your reaction? What was that moment like for you and your staff when you got the commitment from AJ?
It was exciting, obviously. Like I said, there's a lot of work that went into it, different timelines. We weren't sure how things were going to go. I mean, we were trying to be very respectful of how, they wanted to operate and how they wanted to approach things. And, we all kind of felt good where things were heading, and we're able to get it done, as you mentioned. And so it was excitement. It was excitement, I think, for us and for AJ as well.
And then there are a lot of reports out there about the kind of the NIL money. What can you comment on that? Are those reports accurate about the kind of money that he will be making through NIL at BYU?
I'm not sure what's out there with different reporting and whatnot. I mean, the only thing I really say on the NIL, I mean, they made it pretty clear that all the finalists were kind of operating within the same structure and same scenarios, and that was pretty obvious, as we got serious about things in that space. And so, I don't have all the gory details of what everybody was doing, but in dealing with the family and their people, it's pretty obvious that every school was essentially coming with the same thing.
Coach, when you think back upon his official visit, what kind of impact do you think that made, seeing BYU fans up close and personal and just being on campus in an official setting?
Yeah, I think it had a huge impact. I mean, the passion of our fan base, the excitement that was there when he came to the football game, and even a basketball game as well. I mean, it's hard to be on our campus in really any sporting event and not feel the passion and feel that people are going to really have your back and stuff. So I think it had a huge impact not only on him but on his family.
Lastly, Coach, was there a moment where you felt like, hey, we're in a really good spot? Maybe it was the official visit, but is there a moment throughout his recruitment where we felt like we're in a great position to land this guy?
Um, Not really, man. I'm not really that type of guy. I mean, I gotta get things to the finish line before I get too excited about anything. So we just tried to stay the course and just try to continue building a relationship and just kind of show them who we are, and just from a genuine nature relationship standpoint, I should say. And so we tried not to get too high, get too low, and just continue to build up that trust and that relationship. So I mean, honestly, it wasn't until AJ himself called me and told me he was coming that I was breathing a little easier.
All right, Kevin and Mitch.
Ace talked about a meeting back in April where him and Chelsea came up and kind of met you. I was curious, like, just from your perspective, how did that kind of come about, and how are you kind of juggling that with still being with the Suns and still having your NBA job?
Yeah, I mean, the people at Utah Prep, were really recruiting them to come to Utah, and um, we're using a tour of BYU as a way to kind of show off the state and so forth. And so, I got word of that, and definitely knew I wanted to be there while they were on campus and not let that opportunity, go to waste. So that story was actually crazy. I mean, I talked to James Jones going into game one and kind of told him what was going on. And there was a lot of what if scenarios in terms of if we won, if we lost. So anyways, I ended up staying in Minnesota. We had practice, and I sprinted out of practice as soon as it was over, hopped in an Uber, jumped in a plane, flew to Provo, did all that, flew back, and got to Minnie at about 3 o'clock in the morning, ready to rock for to continue that playoff series. So definitely my first foray into college recruiting was was an interesting one.
And when you're kind of flying, were you kind of putting together a presentation or anything on the plane because I know you had so much going on, or like, I guess, was there a formal presentation, or was it more just informal meeting at that point?
A little bit. It was more informal than formal, but I've mastered the art of doing work on airplanes. So I had things dialed in and ready to go to talk about a multitude of different things when we got together in person.
Kevin, AJ said on his public announcement today that he feels like he's kind of like a Tracy McGrady, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander with your extensive NBA background. Who does he remind you of as far as guys that you've worked with or seen in the league?
Yeah, I mean he's a unique talent because he can do a lot of different things. I definitely see those guys he's talking about, but I mean I think parts of his game resemble a lot of the great players. I think defensively he reminds me of Paul George, who I've gone up against in playoff battles and seen him up close. Is some of the passing is LeBron like, similar to Jaeger, where he's got a pretty good, not that not being his strength, but when he can dart passes, kind of cross court passes and things like that. So he's a mix of a lot of different guys, but I mean I like his confidence where he goes out there and just tries to be himself. He's not trying to really be anybody else. But the thing I love most about his game is like he really does try to play the game the right way. For a guy who's as highly touted as he is, there are times where I would go to games and I would almost want him to be even more aggressive looking to score, but he really does try to play the game the right way. And most of the great players that I've been around, that's a commonality amongst all those players.
And just to follow up on his style of play, like in that official visit when you guys were in the annex going, I mean, were you guys like almost having him go through potential plays in what your system could look like for him? Like, how did that play out as far as what you guys were doing maybe on the court in that official visit?
Yeah, so you can't really do it. You can't, or not really, you can't do anything on the court. So we didn't do anything on the court, but we spent a ton of time watching film together and kind of showing him, different things that, where I could see him, operating within the flow of our offensive system and defensive system. And, to me, that those are the funnest parts of the visits when you can really put everything aside and just make it solely about basketball and just really kind of get into the weeds of the particulars and the details and the style of play. And with such a high IQ player like him, that was really fun.
All right, we'll go Matt, Kevin, and then we'll end with Sean.
Coach, specific to this year's team, I'm curious how you think for lack of a better term, integration is going with playing Dallin Hall and Yegor together at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, definitely was an uphill battle early with Dallin missing so much time, and we got comfortable with Yegor, being the primary ball handler, and so I don't think people realize how hard it is to integrate, a high usage player who's a really good player back into the fold, and so it's definitely taking us some time to work through that. Um, but all in all, I think our chemistry is really good. I was just meeting with Yegor the other day about that, and he felt like this is the most connected team he's played on to date. And so that I love hearing that. We obviously have a long way to go just to continue to smooth things out and reads and timing and things of that nature. But so far, I think it's been good, but certainly been a challenge with Dallin missing time.
And then just one last thing on AJ. How much were you able to lean on, Devin Booker or Chris Paul or, even like a Danny Ainge, because I know he's a Celtics fan. Like, were you able to get them involved at all in the process or talk to him?
Yeah, I mean, one of the cool things about my past is I've been just super fortunate to be around like obviously really good players, but then build up like genuine relationships with those guys. And so, um, I try not to overdo it, but if there's things I see where I think something might be able to be a pretty cool connection, I'll call upon of those relationships. And the cool thing is like those guys will hit me, like they're actually hitting me, like, hey, you need me to do anything? Hey, I saw you recruiting this kid. Let me know if you need me to reach out to him. And so it's really just kind of I've talked about this before, but I mean just like the brotherhood and the relationships that you build in a lifetime of coaching, like that's the thing that makes this profession so fun. And when you're able to connect like really high level players together and just be a super small part of it, I get a lot of joy out of that.
And where do you see as kind of the biggest part of his game that can grow and that you'll be focusing on when you get him and get to coach him?
Yeah, I mean it's hard to say if I'm being honest. I think everything is different once someone's really playing in front of you every day and you can really, really, really learn the ins and outs of their games. But I mean, right out of the gate, I'll challenge his ability to guard the other team's best player. I think he's got the capability to be a lockdown defender. And if he wants to be a great NBA player, that's something that he's going to have to take great pride in. That can really separate himself. And then just the decision making. I think you take a step up, even as talented as he is. But anytime you take a step up, it's the game's a lot faster. The game's a lot more physical. People were going to be going at his head, no question. And so, just try to spend time with him and show him, what some of the layers look like as it relates to him making decisions with the ball in his hands and things of that nature.
All right, we'll finish with Sean.
Hey, Coach, I may have missed a little bit of this. I got into the call a little bit late, but it wasn't just you that obviously recruited AJ and really this entire recruiting class, but your staff kind of threw a bit of a full court press on them. I saw Brandon at some of his games. I saw Chris at some of his games. I think I even saw Will and Tim at a couple of games with him. Just what kind of a message do you think this kind of successful signing, I guess, says about BYU, but specifically like this entire coaching staff, you and your assistants, with what you guys are willing to do and I guess able to do and accomplish?
Yeah, I think it's just a compliment to like just our staff as far as human beings go. I wouldn't limit that just to AJ. I think we've had success with, all the young men that we've been able to sign because people get around our staff. They see how good like they're just good guys. They're good guys, no agenda. Everyone's rowing in the same direction. Everyone brings something unique to the table from an experience standpoint, from an expertise standpoint. And, like AJ mentioned on some of the stuff that I heard earlier, it's not just the coaching staff either, right? It's a lot of the highly touted people we have in our whole entire operation, whether that's analytics, nutrition, strength, mental performance, player development. You kind of go down the list, and that's certainly been a separator for us. And I think people that are really serious about, wanting to get better I should say, recognizing that and wanting to take advantage of that. But I think the commonality with the staff is when we get young men and their families here on a visit, I just think our staff, chemistry really comes out, and we really have a good time together, and I think people see that.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Thanks for joining us.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Praying meetings every day, so he never stressed. Rockin' Royal, rockin' Navy. Know you with me. Let's get it, baby.